39.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Mr. Singleton, it is Monday.
It is Monday.
We are 48 hours removed from the Crimson Combine. I take it you did not attend.
I was not in Norman this weekend.
Were you in Stillwater this weekend?
I wasn't. I did go up to Stillwater this weekend.
Figured.
Yeah,
I figured if you'd shown up to the Crimson Combine, I would have been able to hear you. Because
you probably would have. Probably.
We probably would have been able to have a conversation from across the venue with one another. Not a whole lot of electricity at the Crimson Combine over the weekend. It was an event. It was one of the events I've ever attended. It was a thing that did happen with fans present, and there were football players on the field doing football things. Outside of that, I'm really not sure there is much to say about the Crimson Combine. The Sooners had like 12, 15 visitors, something like that. They had a couple big-time recruits in town, one official visitor in Brett Kalage, the offensive lineman from IMG Academy, one particularly conspicuous unofficial visitor in Carter Scruggs, the outstanding offensive tackle from Loudoun County, Virginia. But generally speaking, Grayson, part of the reason why I think the Crimson Combine probably needs to go by the wayside, and this just needs to be a one-off thing that we kind of put them in mothballs immediately, is because it doesn't really create a whole lot of opportunity for impact on the recruiting trail.
That was going to be my question to you. When you told me that there were guys like Carter Scruggs who were here on campus, how would that have benefited you to have them there during what, from what I've heard and from social media and videos I've seen, seemed like a haphazard event?
Yeah. Generally, and that's why in years past the spring game has been such a useful asset for Oklahoma in the recruiting game. Because, for instance, 2022, right? 2022, you get 70-plus thousand people in the building, and every recruit shows up is like, this is amazing. This is what Oklahoma's about, right?
Yeah.
My goodness, it really is like a pro sport in the Sooner State to these people. That's the kind of impression you want to be leaving on a recruit. Grayson, the announced attendance at the Crimson Combine was in excess of 16,000 people. There weren't 16,000 people.
I could not imagine
in those stands at any given time. I mean, they might have sold 16,000 tickets. I might be able to believe that, but at no point were there 16,000 people watching the action happening on the field. I will say this. We got availability with Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle and Nate Dreiling and Wes Goodwin. Jim Nagy spoke during the broadcast of the Combine itself, so great to hear from him again. All in all, though, this is probably not – it probably doesn't mark the genesis of a new rhythm every April at the University of Oklahoma. I understand you were on a constricted timetable to try and make something happen. I do not have beef with the Crimson Combine itself as it was in 2025 because it was a short-term solution and a thrown-together solution at that to a problem that only presented itself at, the beginning of March?
Yeah.
End of February, beginning of March. So you had very little time to plan for anything. I get that. It is what it is here in 2025. My hope, though, is that moving forward in 2026 and beyond, now that you do have a lot more time to try and process what you want to do in terms of fan engagement in the spring, in replacement of something like the spring game, if indeed the spring game has gone the way of the typewriter, I would hope you can come up with something that drives engagement a little bit more effectively than the Crimson Combine, or a lot of it more effectively.
I mean, nobody's to blame here.
No.
You canceled the spring game. You needed a new solution. You thought of what you could do best. I'm all for that, but you try new ideas. If something works, double down on it. If something doesn't, dump it. And this seems like that's going to go into the dump it category, but I can't say anything negative to anybody who thought this might be a good idea to try.
Mm-hmm. Look, everybody's experimenting right now across college football.
Absolutely.
At least everybody that's done away with the spring game. And there are a lot of programs that didn't. There are a lot of programs that played their traditional spring game as if nothing has changed, which, hey, you know what? More power to them. I'm not going to tell anybody at this chaotic juncture of college football, underscored by all of the Nico Iamaleava saga the last few days, that they are wrong for taking whatever course of action they take to try and minimize portal attrition or bidding wars for the student athletes that are on their roster. However, in the aftermath of the Crimson Combine, Grayson, we have a lot to discuss. A lot of very notable headlines from the recruiting world that are going to have a direct impact on Oklahoma's 2026 cycle and certainly beyond. As it stands right now, the Sooners have 4 commits in the 2026 class. Jaden O'Neal, Ryder Mix, Will Conroy, Daniel Odom. Those 4, that is it for the time being. At what point, Grayson, and I ask this because I've seen it on the text line throughout the day, we do certainly have some listeners that are starting to get uneasy about Oklahoma's recruiting efforts in the 2026 cycle. At what point do you start to get concerned, if at all, about where this 2026 class is headed and the ceiling and the potential therein for Oklahoma?
The concern should be there now. Right now, I think your hand is hovering over the panic button.
Really?
It's there. Pushing it is not imminent, but if we get to official visit season into the month of June and you're still sitting on 4, then that's time to sound the alarm, I think. Right now, you're in the market in a pretty good spot with a lot of solid dudes. So you should be okay for right now. But if you start losing out on those dudes and we get closer and closer to mid-June, that's when you got to smash that panic button. But for right now, be concerned a little bit. That's cool, but no need to sound any alarms just yet.
I think you're on the money because obviously Oklahoma's hope, the way that they're playing their hand, is such that the big surge is going to come during OV season,
of course.
June and July.
Right.
That's how it's traditionally been for the Sooners over the years. Not without exception, but that's how it's traditionally been. However, it does feel like you need a little something to shake before OV season because you run the risk of watching some of your OV targets come off the board early to other institutions. We've seen this already. Chancellor Barkley, the offensive lineman from the state of Florida, committed to Clemson last month. Jonathan Hatton, just a few weeks ago, the 4-star running back out of Cibolo Steele High School down in the San Antonio area, committed to Texas A&M. Now, let's start right there for a second. I got the chance to catch up with Jonathan Hatton yesterday at the Under Armour Next Camp series down in Houston. Yes, I went Norman to Houston, back to Norman in the span of 36 hours. It was a lot.
I'm guessing you drove this whole time, too.
I did. I got very sunburned as well.
I was about to say,
anybody who's watching on YouTube right now can bear witness to that.
I was going to say, you look like you were in the sun a lot.
I got some sun. I look like one of those rotisserie chickens that turned for a little too long right now. That's where we're at. But Oklahoma, and we talked about this at the time when Jonathan Hatton committed to Texas A&M, the reality that Oklahoma was not going to back off of Jonathan Hatton, that they were going to continue to push, play the long game, see if by the time signing day rolled around, they could maybe put themselves in position to flip him back because obviously he, the number 5 running back in the 2026 cycle, was committed to Oklahoma for over a year before backing off and eventually pledging to the Aggies. I talked to Hatton yesterday down in Houston. Full interview with him is posted up at OUinsider.com, as is a ton of recruiting and portal information. So if you're not a subscriber over there, I would highly recommend it. For just a few bucks a month, if you're a Sooner fan, trust me, you're going to get your money's worth and then some. But Hatton said, yeah, look, they haven't stopped talking to me. DeMarco Murray is one of my absolute favorite coaches that there is. Continue to maintain a really strong relationship with him. And I asked him straight up, Grayson, you going to visit Oklahoma again at any point? And he left the door open. He said, I might. I'll have to talk with my family. I'll have to talk with Coach Murray. but I very well might. And that alone right there, like, so you're saying there's a chance. Yes, there's a chance with Jonathan Hatton. I mean, if he's all the way locked in with A&M, he's not leaving that door open, right? So does anything come of it in the end? That's to be determined, but Oklahoma is at the very least keeping themselves in the mix for Jonathan Hatton's signature, even if right now it is another school that holds his commitment. I'll also add this. Seeing the kid in person yesterday, Jim Nagy is a shrewder man than me, because obviously the discussion surrounding Hatton back when he committed to Texas A&M was, okay, A&M is willing to pay him quite a bit of money. Is Oklahoma going to be willing to come up to that same ballpark? And the word from the Oklahoma side was, no, running back is not what we would consider these days to be a premium position.
Right.
A position where we're going to spend a great deal of money for one singular player. Mm-hmm. Grayson, I'd spend the money for Jonathan Hatton, man. He is a specimen. He's tall, too. Like, he's like 6'2".
Yeah, that's tall for a running
He's
back.
like 6'2" and jacked. 215 pounds of just muscle.
And, I mean, if Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley taught us nothing from their free agent acquisition, sometimes having a special guy at running back and paying the premium for that, you know, sometimes that can elevate you. And, I mean, if the Ravens and Eagles teach us anything. So, I get that there's trends, and I get that there are formulas with the way people work, but sometimes you gotta break the MO or your preferred way of doing things. If you get a guy that you think, or you, Parker, think is special and can elevate by himself.
Quick shout out, by the way, before we go any further, quick shout out to Gabarino's, which was our restaurant of the day. They brought in a fantastic lunch for us earlier today. Not only did they bring us pasta and sandwiches and garlic bread, but they also brought us gelato, which was delicious.
I forgot they brought that because I haven't had any yet.
I have tried all 5 flavors.
Damn.
Yeah. I've been going after the gelato ever since I got into the office.
I'll have to grab one in 4 minutes when we go to break.
5 for 5 so far. All 5 flavors, excellent. Mint chocolate chip, chocolate hazelnut, sea salt caramel, lemon, strawberry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say less.
There you go. But Gabarino's coming up on 15 years in business. $12 lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. They're serving their spring specials right now, including the crab mac and cheese and veal parmesan catering, an event room at the restaurant that holds up to 50 people. And they also serve coffee drinks as well. 400 Ed Noble Parkway in Norman. Give them a call at 405-310-2229. Chonky Chuck has checked in on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. And he adds, definitely would love to have a commit happen soon, but we got to remember this is how the 2023 class went. Took a bit for it to get going. Great point there, Chonky Chuck. And yet another reason why I think it is perfectly reasonable, to have, like, if you are concerned right now about Oklahoma's 2026 class, I get it. I'm not going to try to talk you out of that. You see other schools racking up 15, 20. I think USC's closing in on 25 commits in the cycle right now. And, you know, you're playing the whole keeping up with the Joneses game. It's understandable to be apprehensive about where Oklahoma's class is at, but this is absolutely exactly what it was like in the 2023 cycle. Oklahoma in late June, prior to Jacquez Pettaway's commitment, that was one of the big turning points in the class. That marked a run where I think Oklahoma might have picked up 8 or 9 commits in the span of like 2 weeks. June and July were huge months for Oklahoma. But at the time that Jacquez Pettaway committed, the morning that he committed, Oklahoma was, if memory serves me correctly, number 38 nationally in the 2023 recruiting rankings. So things can always turn quickly in the recruiting game.
When you phrase it like that, you know what that makes me think of?
What's that?
It makes me think of the game of basketball, right? Where you're just waiting for that one team to make a run. Because I mean, ultimately, that could be what the momentum of recruiting is like once you roll on into OV season. You've been dormant, and then you've watched the Warriors. Steph Curry goes crazy. It hits 5 threes in a span of a minute and a half. And that's what that can turn into. It just takes one to start the avalanche coming in your favor. So that goes back to my opening point. Don't panic just yet. Things will be fine.
Amidst all of this, Oklahoma does have, well, and I shouldn't say Oklahoma has this happening. College football has this happening on Wednesday. The transfer portal window is going to open. The spring portal window will open on Wednesday. Oklahoma has a few things on their checklist that they would like to add in the spring portal. We're going to discuss that. There was a listener that requested some talk about the basketball portal commits. We'll dive into that. I think we'll probably be due at some point this week for another conversation with Brody Lusk, who covers Oklahoma hoops for OUinsider.com, to talk about the basketball portal and Oklahoma's efforts therein, as well as another very intriguing option in the transfer portal at the wide receiver position. Could I perhaps interest you in an OU retread not named Trajan Bridges?
There's another one?
On that cliffhanger, let's hit an opening timeout. When we come back, we will discuss that very situation and much more. You're listening to Locked In here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Hi, folks. This is Larry Knippelmeyer here at Knippelmeyer Chevrolet in Blanchard, USA. Conveniently located just 15 minutes south of Oklahoma City and 10 minutes west of Norman. With all the talk of inflation, market crashes, and tariffs, it's no wonder we're all afraid to make that new vehicle purchase. Now, with that being said, there will probably never be a better time to purchase your new Chevrolet at Knippelmeyer Chevrolet. No price increase or tariffs on our huge selection of in-stock vehicles. Pickups, SUVs, cars, and even Corvettes, all marked down and ready to sell. Interest rates are good, used vehicle trade-ins are high, and rebates and incentives are back on most new Chevrolets. So hop in that old vehicle and come see us at Knippelmeyer Chevrolet in Blanchard, where nobody beats our deal. Or give us a call at 405-485-3333, or catch us on the web at knippelmeyer.com. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
Do you like to stand out in a crowd while wearing the best in OU apparel? The Jimmy Austin Pro Shop carries the best brands you can wear to work or even dress up events. Lines such as Lululemon, Travis Mathew, FootJoy, Greg Norman, Grayson, or Turtleson with the OU and Jimmy Austin logo are sure to catch everyone's eye. You don't have to be a golfer to shop at Jimmy Austin. They also do corporate special orders for you and your company. Call them today, 405-325-6716, or visit theougolfclub.com for more information.
The Ref is the home of Sooner fans and the home of Sooner Diamond Sports this spring. From Patty Squad in search of another natty.
Lift it deep to left field. No way! No way! Lose your mind, Sooner Nation!
And Skip Sooner's sight set on Omaha.
Throw to first and you can ring it up! 6-4-3!
The Ref has you covered.
Catch the Sooner Softball Series finale against the Alabama Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa tonight at 6 on the Ref and the KREF app.
Life is yours to spend. Spend it making more money. Spend it making more memories. Spend it learning a new skill. Spend it teaching an old trick. Spend it career climbing. Spend it mountain climbing. First United Bank. Spend life wisely.
Looking for a fun and adventurous way to spend the summer? Join the Sooner Theater for an unforgettable summer camp experience. The Sooner Theater has 2-week, half-day sessions for students entering kindergarten through 6th grade. Whether your child loves acting, dancing, singing, or magic, these camps have something for everyone. With sessions in June and July, your child can explore creativity, make new friends, and have a blast performing on stage for friends and family. Don't miss out. Sign up now for summer full of fun and adventure through the performing arts. Visit SoonerTheater.org to learn more and register today.
Hey, Mike Steely here for my good friends at Cavens Group. Spring temperatures are here and the threat of severe storms loom. Are you ready? Cavens can help you with water intrusion and inspections for mold, Also, spring cleanup and yard cleanup with their 12-foot dumpsters. Don't wait for the water to expose your problems. Get ahead of it today with Cavens Group Spring Checkup. Call them today at 405-573-3048 or visit cavensgroup.com.
The Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is always available to those of you listening from wherever you may be listening at 405-651-3439. Love interacting with all of you throughout the course of the show. Parker, Thune, Grayson, Singleton with you here on Locked In. This show brought to you by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC out in El Reno. Make the trip out there. Of course, they've got the uber reliable Buicks and GMCs, excellent service out there, including half-price oil changes on Saturdays. The folks at Dorsey Jones, family-owned and operated, are the folks that you're going to want to get to know for all of your automotive needs and concerns. Now, Grayson, I won't leave the folks hanging off the cliff any longer. I think when I use the phrase wide receiver retread out of the portal, everybody's first thought is, Trajan Bridges, right?
Naturally.
We talked about Trajan Bridges quite a bit last week. In fact, I think this goes back even further, 2 weeks. The reality right now, Grayson, is that Oklahoma would absolutely love to bring Trajan Bridges back. That's been made very clear to me in source conversations, is that Oklahoma would really like to have Trajan Bridges back in the fold. However, the overall emotions and feelings on a reunion between the two parties, there's not as much of an eagerness on Bridges' side.
Which, fair.
Completely understandable. But as I've come to understand it, he and the people in his circle, not as keen on it. Because why? Well, he goes and plays literally anywhere else in the FBS. Okay, there he is. Shows up, another cog in the machine, has the opportunity to get on the field and perform and give himself a shot at the NFL. All of those things are true if he goes to Oklahoma, but guess what else is also true? His return comes with a ton of scrutiny. A ton of scrutiny.
Sure.
Because everybody around here knows the whole Trajan Bridges backstory.
And if you don't, you'll find out pretty quick.
There are 133 other FBS schools at which Trajan Bridges' past would not seriously come into play if he signed with them. There is one school, one school where it would. One school where it would immediately become a very prominent point of discussion amongst the fan base, if it wasn't already at that point. And there would be a lot of divisive feelings, a lot of ink spilled on the matter, no doubt. And so when you have, and I mean, he doesn't have 133 other options, but if Oklahoma's interested, there are going to be at least a couple dozen other FBS programs that will be interested as well. If those are the types of options that he has at his disposal when the portal window opens this Wednesday, yeah, totally understandable from that kid's end why Oklahoma would not be a top-of-the-line consideration. I noticed you got some gelato.
I did get some gelato. It's fantastic.
Yeah, what'd you go with?
Strawberry.
Oh, the sorbet?
Yeah.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah.
That's
solid
the good
stuff.
Can't go wrong with fruit, right?
Nah.
Nobody can screw up fruit. Fruit speaks for itself.
Except for, I guess, the people that invented fruitcake.
Yeah. I can't say I've ever had fruitcake.
It's disgusting.
Is it really?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Not a holiday tradition in the Thune household. Never has been. Which I'm glad for.
So who's this other receiver? Who's the cliffhanger?
The other receiver, and I don't even know if you're going to be familiar with this kid. Because I know you were at Oklahoma State at the time all of this was going down. But Oklahoma had 2 wide receiver signees in the 2023 class. One of them was Jaquez Petaway.
Mm-hmm.
The other never even made it to campus. His name was Keon Brown.
Okay, that is the name that has been proliferating on the text line all day.
Correct. Keon Brown from Tallahassee, Florida. Now let me take you back to the Keon Brown story and the arc of that recruitment as a whole. Keon Brown, his recruitment blew up very, very late. He played his whole junior year of high school, did not have an offer until I want to say December of 2021, at the very end of his junior season. I believe it was the hometown school, Florida State, that gave him his first scholarship offer. He caught fire very quickly to the point where I think over the next 2-3 months, he picked up close to 20 offers. He came and camped at Oklahoma in early June of 2022 as a rising senior. To this day, Grayson, I don't know that I've ever been as surprised by a commitment as Keon Brown's commitment to Oklahoma, because here's how it went down. He camped. He got the offer. Cale Gundy was the receivers coach at the time. He camped. He got the offer from Cale Gundy. He left town. I went down. I went straight from OU's camp down to TCU to cut, because TCU always has a big mega camp down there. So I was down there covering TCU's camp. And I remember getting into my car at probably 5 p.m. on a Sunday evening to drive back up to Norman after the camp sessions had concluded for the day. And I get the notification, I think it was from Hayes Fawcett, because who else, that Keon Brown has committed to Oklahoma. I'm like, whoa, what? I mean, completely out of left field. There was absolutely no heads up from the OU end with any of the people that I was tapped in with at the time that was coming. In fact, it was so abrupt and it was so out of left field that I actually texted a few people that worked in the Switzer Center, that were working in the Switzer Center at the time, and they were like, hang on, we got to make sure that we're taking his commitment, because this wasn't even on our radar either. We didn't know this was happening. So,
good Lord.
Obviously, they took his commitment. Like, very, very talented wide receiver, and a sizable one, 6'3", in excess of 200 pounds, big-bodied receiver.
Oh, okay.
Who could, ball skills, tremendous prospect. So they took his commitment. I remember doing an interview with him a couple days after the fact, and he was like, yeah, loved it up at OU, felt like that's where I needed to be, so I committed, simple as that. And so in general, especially those people that cover recruiting and that follow recruiting, they witness a situation like that unfold, and their first thought naturally is, well, that commitment's not going to stick. Right? He's going to take some more visits. He'll evaluate some other options. Ain't no way that he just randomly showed up in Oklahoma once, got an offer, decided there was no place better for him, committed, and then was just completely done with the recruiting process. But that's exactly what happened with Keon Brown. He never took another visit, to my recollection. He looped back around in the fall for his OV at Oklahoma. I believe he came in for another game day as an unofficial visitor, in fact. And he was all in, 10 toes down for the University of Oklahoma. He signed in December as a member of the 2023 class. And then he did not qualify academically.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He did not have good enough grades to get admitted to Oklahoma or anywhere else in the FBS for that matter. And so the option that he was left with at that point was go the junior college route. And that's what he did. He played a year at Garden City Community College in Kansas, and he played a year at Iowa Western Community College up in Council Bluffs, Iowa, about a half hour from where I grew up. And now here we are in 2025, Grayson, and Keon Brown's back on the Oklahoma radar. Now, I will say this. He very nearly wound up a Florida Gator a few months back. Immediately following his sophomore season at Iowa Western, Florida recruited him. They intended to take his commitment. He verbally committed to Florida, put an edit out, everything. And then it all fell apart because Florida realized, and this all came together in the span of a matter of days, if not hours, Florida realized, oh, Dallas Wilson's not going. He's getting out of his NLI at Oregon. Dallas Wilson, 5-star receiver in the 2025 class. He's getting out of his NLI at Oregon, and he wants to come here. Oh, shoot, we're taking him instead of this JUCO kid. So Keon Brown winds up back on the open market. And much like the Bridges circumstance, Grayson, I do not know at this point whether anything is going to come of it. But I do know for a fact that Oklahoma has been in contact with Keon Brown. It's something we've been discussing for the last several days over at OUinsider.com. Our members knew, I believe, on Friday evening, maybe it was Saturday evening, about this whole situation. But Oklahoma is interested in bringing this thing full circle with Keon Brown. There's some interest there. As it's been explained to me, at this point, it's more of a matter of, okay, is this the guy that we want? Because as of right this second, Oklahoma is only taking one portal receiver. There is a pathway to two, potentially, but it's still something that has to be hashed out in meetings between the coaching staff and Jim Nagy and the front office. They know they can take one. They might be able to take two, but right now one is the plan.
Let me ask you this question, because I think this is also pertinent to Trajan Bridges as well. How did they not get picked up in the winter portal cycle? Why are they just now becoming available in the spring?
You're talking about,
like, why did they not hop into the portal right after the season?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer. I mean, if you're in junior college, right, you don't have to jump in the portal.
That's true. Yes.
That you have college coaches constantly recruiting you. You can leave at any time.
But in the case of a guy like Trajan Bridges,
yes.
Why is he still at Central Arkansas and just now hopping in the portal instead of just going right after the season, if he always knew he intended to go back to the FBS?
Yeah. Well, and I think, the natural answer to that question, the answer that would make the most sense was he wasn't always sure that he wanted to go back to the FBS. Maybe he just liked it at Central Arkansas. I don't know. I don't know all of the details surrounding that situation, but I know the thing complicating matters with Bridges, as we talked about late last week, is the fact that as of right this second, he actually doesn't have any eligibility. He has to get his eligibility reinstated from the NCAA for the years that he spent at the JUCO level before he's eligible to play. So that is just one factor that's making the whole Bridges situation that much trickier. The compounding factor that's complicating matters with Keon Brown, as I understand it, is that his grades are still not great.
Still?
Yeah.
Oh,
Which,
boy.
I mean, man, I feel like that's the one lesson you kind of have to learn playing junior college football, especially in a place like Garden City, Kansas. Right? Like, if you want to make it out of the Midwest stockyard towns, you got to get your grades right.
Yeah.
You got to get your transcript right. And from what I've been told, it's borderline with Keon Brown. He's in dangerous territory in that regard.
Oh, boy.
Now, I will say, I'm not going to say which one, but one of the transfer receivers that came in this past winter, he had horrible grades too, and they got him in. So, at the very least, there's precedent for it. There is precedent for it.
What do you mean they got him in?
Let me give you an example of how this works. At times, if Joe Castiglione picks up the phone and Joe Castiglione calls the admissions office and says, hey, I know this kid's on like borderline territory. I would love it if you could just go ahead and admit him. They're going to admit him. Now, if a kid is objectively, like, no question about it, can't qualify academically, well, then it's not even a conversation. But, if you're in shaky territory where, like, there's certainly a case, it could go either way, you're right there on the cut line, if you will, then there are calls that can be made to get a kid the benefit of the doubt.
Greg and Muskogee, on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Do you happen to have Brown stats from last season? I do. It took me a minute to find them, but I do. He played in 10 games, and he caught 25 passes for 521 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's an average, by the way, of 20.8 yards per catch.
He's a big play machine, man. His senior highlights at James Rickards High School down in Tallahassee, nuts.
He also He also has that haircut that looks like what Lil Uzi Vert used to have.
He's always had some interesting hairstyles.
Yeah,
as long as I can recall.
Yeah, having grown up around a lot of, because my dad's had kids a little bit older. My dad's 40 years older than me.
Okay.
Having grown up around a lot of old black men, he looks like a dude that's people would say, "Hey man, you might want to cut this off."
So yeah, Greg, definitely Keon Brown does not have Terrell Davis stats, but then again, nobody has Terrell Davis stats, right?
Right.
Kind of sounds like Oklahoma State is the trend there with Terrell Davis.
Really?
Right now. So congratulations to you.
I mean, I wasn't going to take a victory lap, but.
Kyle from Sallisaw says, if his grades are finally good, let that man come on his merry way. And the sense I've gotten in just kind of feeling out that whole situation is that if it can work, if Oklahoma gives Keon the opportunity, he's going to jump on it. Because you got to understand, like, there was never any love lost for OU from his side. Even in, like, I remember there was some noise being made on Florida message boards in February of 2023, a couple months, after the signing period, where there were Florida reporters talking about, we're hearing Keon Brown's going to ask out of his NLI at OU and enroll at Florida. And I remember talking to Keon about that. He was like, absolutely. Like, what is all this about? No. I'm at OU. I want to be at OU. I'm coming to OU. Obviously, it didn't work out, but for other reasons. If it can work, if that opportunity does exist for Keon Brown in the year of our Lord 2025, it sounds as though he's going to be all the way in with finally making his way to Norman with what would be, Grayson, potentially up to 4 years of eligibility.
Yeah.
2 years at JUCO, theoretically, if you successfully petition for reinstatement of those 2 years, which it's not like the NCAA can tell you no at this point, if you successfully apply for reinstatement of those 2 years, you could spend a whole 4 years at Oklahoma.
I still don't know how I feel about that ruling.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Alan Bowman and Cam McCormick are going to become things like that. That's just going to be a normal thing.
Do we know what Cam Rising is doing?
That was the next name I was going to bring up.
Do we know what he's doing? Because I
don't think he's in the draft.
Yeah, no, he's not. And he's not with the Utah program right now. So is he just done with football? Is he going to be transferring? I genuinely don't know. I don't know where things sit there. I do know he's eligible for an 8th year of college football, if that's something he wants to do.
That's double what it was initially
Yes, that is
supposed
2
to be.
careers. That is 2 careers.
College football's fun, isn't it?
Cam Rising was 1 year behind me.
And how long have you been out of college?
I've been out of college a good long time at this point.
You're 26. You have not been out a good long time.
It feels like a good long time. I graduated with my master's, mind you, 3 years ago. I've been out for a minute. Cam Rising, still plugging away. Well, maybe. Slim Brady asked, how much money do y'all think Jeremiah Smith would cost? Yeah, well, to bring the whole Nico Iamaleava conversation back into it, if there's a $4 million man in college football, it's Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
Then that's probably where the list starts and stops right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got to hit a timeout. When we come back, much more to come regarding OU football recruiting. We'll dive into where things stand with a few of the visitors from this past weekend and some likely candidates for Oklahoma as far as the early commitments, the pre-OV season commitments. Also, one key target from Oklahoma, or for Oklahoma, I should say, that was down on the 40 acres this weekend. Any reason for concern there? We'll discuss next. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
A true Sooner fan wouldn't be caught dead without the KREF app. Join the Army. Get the app. Tell your friends. This is The Ref, where diehard Sooner fans listen.
Make it rain this April at Riverwind Casino.
With big wins and even bigger jackpots. Enjoy the sweet smell of money in the non-smoking oasis.
Get hyped on nearly 3,000 of your favorite electronic games.
Become a legend in the high-stakes lounge.
And get rewarded like the VIP you are when you use your wild card.
Hit nothing but net with the $80,000 Spring Spins and Wins giveaway.
So thunder up and win like a champion, only at Riverwind.
Summer fun starts now at Westwood. 2025 passes are on sale now. Ride the water slides, float the lazy river, make a splash off the diving boards, and enjoy swim lessons, activities, and special events all summer long. Get your season pass today for unlimited visits and exclusive discounts. But hurry, they're only available while supplies last. Don't miss out. Go to westwoodpool.com now and lock in your summer of fun.
What's up, Ref Army? It's Dusty Dvorak. Do you eat, sleep, and breathe football? KREF is the only place for the most comprehensive daily analysis of Sooner and college football. Catch me every Tuesday and Wednesday during the 10 a.m. hour of The Plank Show as I cut it up with Plank and Josh about everything in the world of Sooner and college football. That's every Tuesday and Wednesday on The Plank Show, and there's only one place to hear it. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Download the KREF app today to listen from anywhere.
Are you looking to elevate your golf game in 2025? Westwood Golf Course in Norman can help. Now's the time to get your annual memberships, and they're open 7 days a week. The 50th annual Westwood Invitational is July 4th, 5th, and 6th, so be sure to register early this year. Play after 2 p.m. for just $28 or after 5 p.m. for just $23. You can always book your tee time at westwoodparkgolf.com, and don't forget to visit the Turn Grill inside Westwood, one of the local gyms in Norman.
Children are the greatest joy and our best hope for a better future. Friends, they are the future. But did you know that millions of kids are facing hunger every day? Food is not just food. It's energy, health, confidence, hope, and even love. Yes, love.
Thank you!
Learn more about how No Kid Hungry is helping end child hunger in America at helpnokidhungry.org.
What are you waiting for? If you're anything like me, that question keeps you up at night. So don't wait for someone else's green light. Do the things you love right now at More Norman Tech. We'll get you out of the classroom and into the real world with hands-on experience in whatever feeds your fire. So get after it. Oklahoma needs more doers, and doers don't wait. More Norman Tech, powered by Oklahoma Career Tech.
Are you looking for luxury apartments for rent in Norman? The Falls at Brookhaven offers stunning apartments and a well-maintained, calm atmosphere. Enjoy our landscaping, a swim in the pool, or take your pet for a walk in one of our 2 dog parks. Our spacious outdoor areas and state-of-the-art amenities will make this new home feel like a resort. All this can be right outside of your door when you live at the Falls at Brookhaven. Call our locally owned and operated community at 405-701-8233 or go online to thefallsatbrookhaven.com to view our spacious floor plans.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Kelly Clarkson, and as the daughter of a school teacher, I know just how important education is. No matter how old you are or your situation, continuing to learn will enrich your life and help remove barriers you didn't even know were there. So much opportunity, y'all. Whether it's a foreign language, history, or a different way to look at things, take some time each day to learn something new. This message is courtesy of the United States Air Force.
One final segment of Locked In here on this fine Monday afternoon in God's country. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton with you. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. As I mentioned earlier, Grayson, just one official visitor at the Crimson Combine for Oklahoma. That was Brett Kalajay, the offensive lineman from IMG Academy. Not too terribly optimistic about Oklahoma's chances to land him. And obviously, you know, if you have a spring game with 75,000 people there, that maybe gives you a shot. But Crimson Combine with 16K, probably didn't leave the seismic impression you needed to leave on a kid that is a very high priority for the likes of Miami and Georgia and Tennessee. So not feeling great about their odds to land Brett Kalajay, but Bill Bedenbaugh has given himself plenty of options in the 2026 recruiting cycle on the offensive line. Got to catch up with one of his top targets, Pupunga Toa Katoa from Trinity Euless Euless Trinity, I guess.
Fort Worth
down
area.
in DFW.
Yep.
Yeah. 4-star interior offensive lineman, 6'3", 365
Yeah,
pounds.
I saw that today.
Here's what I love about that kid, man, is like there's a difference between big and fat. A lot of 365-pound dudes are fat. You look at guys like that, okay, you need to – like B.J. Brooks. Eugene Brooks was a great example of this after his junior year of high school.
Yep.
Eugene Brooks was like 390 pounds, and he was fat.
How did you get that big?
Well, there are ways. But anyway, look at a guy like that. It's like, okay, you have got to lose weight to be able to effectively play at the next level. But Toa Katoa is not fat. He is just big. Big and wide, built like a refrigerator that weighs 365 pounds. He does not need to cut a single ounce to be able to play effectively at the next level. And he is really, really nimble for being that size. So he's down to OU, SMU, Texas A&M. Those are his final three. He's going to OV to all three schools. Oklahoma is right smack dab in the middle of that OV slate. It's going to be SMU first, Texas A&M last. Oklahoma falls second in line. So we will see where things go there. But Oklahoma could be closing in, Grayson. They could be closing in on an interior offensive line addition via the transfer portal. Jake Michaela from Stanford took his official visit to Oklahoma, 10 days ago now? Thursday and Friday of the week before last. He has since visited Houston, Syracuse, and North Carolina, as well as UCLA. I was actually just exchanging texts with Jake, and he says his finalists, his official finalists for his commitment, are OU, UCLA, Syracuse, North Carolina. So it's going to be between those four.
Okay.
And it should be sometime this week that we find out where Jake Michaela is headed.
That would be a very, very nice get for Bill Bedenbaugh. Even if he doesn't project into the starting five, to have experienced, talented depth behind those interior guys, I think is going to be seismic.
Yeah. Now, we're talking, obviously, about inbound transfers potential there. Oklahoma's going to want to go grab a tight end. They're going to want to grab a cornerback. They're going to want to grab a receiver. I've also been told Oklahoma's going to pursue a transfer running back, which is interesting, isn't it? Because, that feels like a pretty crowded Oklahoma backfield picture right now. But when you really break it down, and this is something that we talked about a good deal last week, it doesn't feel like any of those guys is somebody that you can 100% count on.
Mm-hmm.
None of those guys like, okay, I know what they're giving me in 2025, because you don't. And so if Oklahoma can go grab a guy that has produced consistently, if they can grab somebody that you know you can count on to produce in the SEC, then it makes sense. It's probably coming with a casualty elsewhere in that room, and I think it's real easy to look at that room right now and identify the most likely candidate. I'm not going to name names, but I think we all probably have the same guy in mind. And so if you can just make a one-for-one exchange, then great, right? What's also interesting is that when the Crimson Combine occurred on Saturday, we finally got to see where Michael Fasusi and Ryan Fojay, I combined their names for a second there, where those two actually stand on the depth chart as of right now for Oklahoma. Fasusi was the second-team left tackle. Ryan Fojay was the second-team right guard. So those two already are in the two deep, at least it would appear. Eddie Pierre-Louis was also working with the first team Saturday, which, that's on the one hand, great. On the other hand, maybe that's only because Heath Ozaitis hurt. I guess we don't really know, right? And you also have to consider Logan Howland is going to be in the mix for that second-string left tackle role behind Jake Sexton once he gets healthy. And so as a byproduct of it, is it partially because of the injuries that have occurred on that offensive line so far this spring? Sure, I'm sure it is. But we know Fasusi and Fojay, as it stands, are in the two deep on the second team right now. And I will say this. Because of that, because of how strong Fasusi and Fojay have been throughout the spring to this point, there will be a veteran casualty when the portal window opens.
Ooh.
On the offensive line.
Ooh.
There will be at least one veteran casualty that I know of. And regardless of what the fans think at that point, I'm here to tell you that's because there's kind of an understanding right now within the walls of that building that Fasusi and Foje are both well ahead of schedule, and they're coming.
Slim Brady on the text line. And now I lost him. Oh, there you are again. You texted another thing. Let Barnes, Sawchuk, and Franklin all walk.
Clean house, huh? Get all the running backs out of there.
And that's an interesting way you said that. It's a crowded running back room. I think the most important question to ask, what is it crowded with? Is it crowded with – it's really crowded with just a bunch of unproven dudes.
They're all dudes that could have big seasons individually in 2025. They're also all dudes that could do absolutely nothing in 2025.
Uh-huh.
It is boom or bust.
Yep.
With basically every single dude in that room.
Yep.
4-star Evan from Blanchard, and boy, this was very conspicuous on Saturday for anybody that watched the Crimson Combine. Evan from Blanchard asked, can we get a freaking kicker? Austin Welch.
Is this going to be
early
a problem?
Impressions?
Is this going to be a problem?
Hard thumbs down there.
Oh.
Not liking that. And Brent Venables was even asked about it after the Combine. He was like, yeah, we got to get better. We got to get better there. Now, you do got Liam Evans, which for some reason, I don't think I watched Liam Evans attempt to kick. Did Liam Evans attempt to kick on Saturday? Could somebody chime in that had a better vantage point? Let me know, because I know Austin Welch attempt several kicks, and I watched several kicks miss badly.
Oh, no. One star Puerto Rican Sooner. It's crowded in mediocrity and Xavier Robinson.
Yes, referring to the running back room.
Yes.
Yeah, Xavier Robinson.
Exactly.
It feels like right now probably the safest bet.
To be RB1.
Yeah. Now, safest bet as far as production goes. Now, with mindful of the landscape of the offense as a whole, as a unit, does that mean 1,000 yards or does that mean 600 yards? It's hard to tell, but Xavier Robinson, I guess, would be the one guy that you feel like you can count on over the rest. But yeah, kicker, Grayson, that is a position where if all they've got is what we saw on Saturday, and again, I didn't see Liam Evans attempt to kick. The returns on him have been pretty good in the year and a half that he's been on campus, so maybe they can trust him. I wouldn't trust Austin Welch as far as I could throw him after Saturday. And he does weigh, 170 pounds? You could probably throw him further than the average football player, but that's still not very far.
You're in the SEC now.
Yeah.
How many big-time SEC games do we see come down to or be impacted by kicks?
Well, I know. Do you remember watching OU football throughout the 2022 season, Grayson?
Yeah.
Were you tuned into OU football?
I've always been ever since I went to college. We always watched OU games.
I'm sure I don't have to remind anybody listening to this show right now how many games could have very easily gone the other way for Oklahoma in 2022 if they had a better kicking game.
Damn near all of them.
You have seen firsthand in the Big 12, mind you, how special teams miscues are magnified. Need I remind you also of one of the only 2 wins Oklahoma had in SEC play last year down in Auburn, Alabama? Zach Schmidt was 2 for 2 on field goals that day. Auburn's kicker, Towns Magoo. Towns Magoo couldn't hit the broadside of a barn that day.
Cratered.
Towns Magoo couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. That's the only reason he won the game. That and Peyton Thorne having a brain fart with 2 minutes to play or whatever it was. Special teams matters. And it's never great to hear the head coach acknowledge after your spring game-ish festivities.
You know what's funny?
What's that?
One of the first shows you and I ever did together was after Brent Venables coming into last year was like, yeah, we might have 2 kickers. And how problematic that is. That if you think you have 2 kickers, clearly you don't have one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if Austin Wells just has the yips and that's going to get better and he'll shake back, or if he's just not a very good
combine.
Yeah, if you have the yips in front of 10,000 people,
multiply that times 9.
Yeah, not great. Not great. Oklahoma's got to figure that out. All right, folks, thanks for hanging with us today on Locked In. For Grayson Singleton, I am Parker Thune. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Tyler McComas and Teddy Lehman have The Rush coming up on the other side. Y'all take it easy.